Hey guys, welcome to today's video. Well, in today's video we are going to talk about the B58 and its tuning potential to get a lot of horsepower out of it for very little money. Because as we all know, the B58 is a very well-known engine by now that is capable of running big power and also is able of making big power without spending a shit ton of money, because tuning is not it's not cheap, sorry. And if you want to make big power, you'll have to spend big money, and that's also the case with the M140i. But luckily there's actually a lot of power left on the table without spending a huge amount of cash. So in this video I'm going to explain how you can actually hit over 500 horsepower with spending little money. I think less than 2,000 euro, if I'm correct in my head. And I'm going to explain you how you do it, and it's actually not that difficult. So here we have the well-known B58 engine. A very gorgeous capable engine. I just love it. But as you can see, this one is not completely stock, and it's running around 510 horsepower and over 700 newton meters. So how did I do this? Well, I'm talking about 98 octane, by the way. I upgrade my turbo, fuel pump, catless downpipe, and that is basically it. So a catless downpipe is the best that you can do. And then you basically also need a stronger high pressure fuel pump and a hybrid turbo. And if you do those three things and you do like an E50 or an E40 ethanol blend map, you can hit over 700 horsepower with this engine, which is pretty crazy, right? That is high. I mean, that's double the power as what it makes stock from the factory. But when you do that, like a good turbo that will hit those numbers is around 4,000 euro. The high pressure fuel pump that you want to have with a setup like that is like a Dodge of an FTX 180. Those go for around 2,000-ish euro, a little bit above. And the catless downpipe is like 300-400 euro. And then you want everything with a well-equipped map, and you want XHP for the gearbox. So you're spending over 7,000 euro on the engine, which is already starting to be a decent amount of money. But the thing is, you don't want 700 horsepower in an M140i with stock suspension. You want to upgrade the coilovers, you want to upgrade the differential, you want to upgrade the brakes, and before you know, you're spending well over 12,000-13,000 euro at a car that will run great, don't get me wrong, but it's not cheap, and not everyone wants to spend that amount of money, and I get that. I mean, it's a lot of money. So now I'm going to explain you how you can actually achieve over 500 horsepower for around 2,000 euro. So what I did, and what you should do, is upgrade the fuel pump to the fuel pump of the Supra or the newer engines. They also come with the newest 3-cylinder engine. It's really crazy. Basically the Gen 2 B58s also have them. So you should upgrade to the DUI the DU fuel pump. That's what you should do, and then you should also go with a catless downpipe, and that's basically all the hardware that you need for this engine. Then what I would recommend is absolutely get XHP for the gearbox, because when you raise so much horsepower and torque, the stock clamping force that's programmed in this gearbox is not enough, and you'll have slippage. You don't want that, so you should upgrade to better software. So you should do the XHP software gearbox map. It's just software, you don't have to do anything physical. And tuning platform, you can go with MG Flasher, BM3, Bootmod, and then MHD. I personally used MHD, and it's great. It has been great, so you should buy that mapping. It's also just pure software. You will need a little adapter, but that's like 90 euro, and then you have to only buy it once. And then basically with just 98 octane map you can achieve around 460-70 horsepower with the fuel pump and the downpipe on regular fuel. If you want more, you can actually also get the E40 maps with MHD. I'm not sure about the other ones. I think you can, but if you get an E30 map or an E40, I'm not sure. But one of those two will actually get you over 500 horsepower. So you add, 30 or 40% ethanol, which in this car is about 15 to 20-ish liters. No, I think 16 and 21 because it's a 52-liter tank. So 16 liters or 21 liters of ethanol added to your fuel will actually give this car over 500 horsepower if you do it correctly. So. And that's only with on-the-shelf tunes. If you want to spend more and get a custom tune, you probably also get a little bit more out of it. Now, what you also can do, but I wouldn't recommend it, is if you want to spend as little as money as possible and you think that the fuel pump is not worth it, you can also just get a downpipe and just tune it that way. You'll get a little bit less power 98, but also less on ethanol. Why? Because the stock fuel pump from the B58 Gen 1 actually is not strong enough, and when you're running on a stage 2 tune, it's basically already running at its limit. And once the fuel pump is not operating at 100% anymore, you will basically start having problems when you're on the full load, and the pump will not be able to keep up with the amount of fuel the car asks. So that's why I would definitely recommend of at least upgrading to the TU fuel pump. A Dodge is even better, but that's like 5 times, 6 times as expensive as this pump. So this video is about spending as less as money as possible. So the prices, the TU fuel pump, I think you can find for around €400 right now. The catless downpipe, a decent one, is about the same money, around €400. Then the XHP and the MHD software is around €700, and then the little adapter is another €100. So basically you're only spending €1,600 to get this car over 500 horsepower, and I think it's pretty amazing. I would say €2,000 if you want to have a mechanic do the labor of installing these. Then you would be close to around €2,000. Depends where you go. I think most places you'll have a little bit less even. So a little bit under €2,000 will get you 500 horsepower plus M140i. I think you should do coilovers, brakes, and an M performance diff and some other modifications when you want to run that power, because the stock suspension and it isn't that great. I think 340 horsepower is pretty much the limit of this stock suspension of this car and drivetrain and everything. So I would definitely upgrade those, but if you're just a straight line hero, then this is really what you need. So it's as simple as that. Then if you want to go further, you can also get a bigger turbo, and then you can go to higher horsepower numbers, and then you're spending a lot more cash. So it really depends on how much do you want to spend, and a lot of things. So really, it's an expensive hobby, but if you're like, I want to spend just a little bit, this is the route to go. I mean, and you'll have a fast car, right? You'll have a very fast car. Not a lot of people will be able to keep up with you. I mean, yeah, if you go to drag race events and some special places, yeah, sure, there always will be someone faster at you, but really with that setup, you're already going to be like, you're going to be pretty fast. I have been to a drag race event in Breda in Netherlands, and my trap speed, there were 200 cars, and my trap speed, notice I have a 30-40 horsepower over that setup that I currently spoke, but with the ethanol it should be pretty. Shut up, the doggy is not agreeing. But with that ethanol setup, with the E30 and the E40 map on the stock turbo, you should be actually hitting stock to 520-30 horsepower. So I think so, a little bit above what I'm currently running. And in a drag race event, I was with the 25% fastest cars. So that's decent, and also was at 20% of the highest rep speeds. Because I had rear-wheel drive, some all-wheel drive cars had faster times because they lounge better, and it was on a non-prepped surface. So on a better prepped surface, I would probably be even, like, let's say, top 20%. So, and that's with a basic setup. You can also go higher with the ethanol blend, like E50. I think some people did, but I wouldn't recommend it, because like 550 horsepower is pretty much the limit of the stock turbo, and if you go close to that limit, the turbo won't survive that long. So then you'll need to spend cash on a new turbo, and then you're spending big money anyway. So I would rather keep it safe at like an E30 blend. And you'll see over 500 horsepower, and you'll be 100, 200 times with an M1 Ti will be around 7 seconds, 7.5 seconds, and yeah, if you go with a big turbo, it will be under 6. But yeah, anyway, so I wouldn't go with 550 with the stock turbo, because then the turbo will actually kind of not survive for very long. So 520, 530 I think is a good safe limit with some ethanol. And then keep an eye out at the injectors, because they tend to fail after a while. They don't like ethanol that much, so keep an eye when you're going to around 100,000 kilometers. I would say change them out. I actually have new ones ordered. They're actually in the back of the car, so I have to get them mounted with the next service. But yeah, that's kind of it about this video, what I wanted to say. So if you liked it, you can always leave a like and subscribe. You don't have to, whatever. Anyway, I'll see you guys soon. Goodbye.